Good morning, everyone. Today is January 24th, 2026. My name is Roman Miller. I'm a meteorologist here at the National Weather Service in Wakefield, and I'll go ahead and get started with our winter storm briefing. So the main thing of what has changed, not much from yesterday afternoon. We still have winter storm warnings across much of the area, with winter weather advisories across portions of northeastern North Carolina. And as far as the marine side of things, we do have a gale watch now that has been issued for the coastal waters north of Cape Charles for Saturday night into Sunday afternoon. Now I'll go ahead and skip this side as we'll go into each of the details more individually. So looking at our winter storm timeline, today it is very cold out there, as I'm sure you all are well aware of at this point. I'll go ahead and show the current temperatures out there as of 11 a.m. You can see mainly in the teens across the area, with low to mid 20s across southern portions of the area. However, if I look at the wind chill, what it feels like out there is around 0 in Louisa, single digits for most of the inland portions of the area, and even down along the coast, it only feels like 7 degrees down there in Virginia Beach. So it is quite a cold morning out there today, leading up to our winter event this weekend. And with those temperatures, we do have a cold weather advisory, which remains in effect for another hour until noon. Looking at our high temperatures today, we're only expected to get into the 20s for most of the area, the low to mid 20s across the northern portions of the area, to around freezing across the southeastern portions of the area. Again, this is only going to be helping the ground and road temperatures remain below freezing before the onset of precipitation later this evening into tonight. And then looking at our minimum temperatures or our low temperatures tonight, once that precipitation does start, it should help cool down temperatures even more. And low temperatures tonight are expected to be in the teens across much of the area, along and west of 95, as well as north of 64. A little bit warmer towards southeast, but that's still very cold and below freezing, which again is creating those concerns for road conditions as we get our wintry precipitation to move into the area. So tonight we start to see our snow, and most of the area should still start to snow. And we're still thinking this evening for the start time for most of the area on either side of sunset as possible, but it still looks like the evening is the main time frame for when everything will start. And then overnight tonight into the day on Sunday, we are expecting that transition towards sleet and eventually freezing rain. By Sunday, we expect the sleet to be pretty much ongoing everywhere by mid-morning, and then some freezing rain across southern and eastern portions of the area, with the freezing rain spreading north throughout the day on Sunday. And you could even get some rain along the immediate coastline, even now a little bit further inland across eastern portions of the area, as temperatures are now expected to rise above freezing on Sunday. And then all the precipitation comes to an end at some point late Sunday night, maybe into early Monday, but right now most of the model guidance has it late Sunday night for everything ending. And then on Monday, it's still going to be cold, and we are still expecting those windy conditions to potentially cause some additional power outages, and then very cold Monday night. So as far as the exact snowfall totals, I'll go ahead and go into that on this slide. Rather, right now we are still expecting 5 to 8 inches of snow along and north of US 360, with 1 to 4 inches south. Still a bit of uncertainty with respect to how much snow we actually end up getting. If the sleet transitions faster than what we're currently seeing, then those snow totals could be cut down, potentially even quite a bit in some spots. However, there is a potential for some decent snowfall accumulations, especially across northern portions of the area, before we get that transition. I will also mention that pretty much all of our snowfall accumulation is going to occur tonight. Once we get towards Sunday morning, it quickly transitions to sleet if you haven't done so already. And regarding the snowfall rates, right now it looks like around 1/2 inch to 1 inch per hour rates when the snow begins tonight. However, there probably is going to be some sort of line or swath of 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates in there at times. Right now, our best confidence is going to be across northern portions of the area, but it all depends on exactly where that heaviest precipitation really sets up. If it's over on south side and towards Petersburg, that's possible as well. I can't completely rule that out. It just depends on where the snow sleet line starts and how heavy the precipitation gets before it changes over to sleet as that transition zone lifts north through the night and into the day on Sunday. Regarding the snow character, it still is expected to be kind of a drier snow at the onset this evening across northern portions of the area. And now it looks like it's probably going to start across the southern half of the area as a wet snow, given that our temperatures aloft are going to be a little bit more marginal than we were initially thinking. And then by Sunday morning, everywhere you can see it says heavy wet snow. Pretty much if you even have snow on Sunday morning across the parts of the north, it's probably going to be a brief period of time and then transition to sleet. So that's why it shows up as a heavier wet snow on that graph. Now regarding the ice forecast, it's pretty much the same as what it was yesterday. We are still expecting an impactful ice event across the area with 1/4 to 1/2 inch of freezing rain possible across a large portion of inland areas. And then there probably is going to be a swath there of above 1/2 inch of freezing rain. It's just trying to figure out exactly where that sets up. Most of the model guidance has it between the 85 and 95 corridors, which is why we've highlighted that region in here. And I will note that some of the model guidance does have that a little bit higher those little bit higher totals going a little bit more inland. So I would not rule out any of the Piedmont as well for getting a little bit higher freezing rain totals than what we currently show. But keep in mind that with all the snow on the ground and then changing over to sleet and freezing rain, this whole combination is just probably going to turn into some sort of travel mess, essentially. Everything is probably going to turn to ice if you're below freezing, which you should be for most of the inland portions of the area. And yeah, it's just overall, this is going to lead to the potential of widespread tree damage and power outages, especially if you do end up getting that 1/2 inch or more of freezing rain. That corridor, wherever it ends up exactly setting up, that is where the most widespread power outages and tree damage would be expected. And here's the probabilities for 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch of freezing rain. And you can see it's highlighting that same region. It just goes a little bit further to the west. So you can see Farmville here still has a 40% chance of getting 1/2 inch of freezing rain or more. And Richmond here at around almost a 50% chance for 1/2 inch of freezing rain. And then looking at the chance for 3/4 inch, that's still an appreciable chance of a decent ice accumulation. Around 20% chance basically from Richmond down the 85 corridor towards South Hill. So we will obviously be keeping a very close eye on this and seeing how it trends and how much of this ends up being sleet versus freezing rain. I will also note that our freezing rain accumulations will be impacted by the sleet. And if the sleet holds on longer, that could cut down on your freezing rain accumulations and vice versa. If the sleet doesn't last for very long and you change over to freezing rain quicker on the day Sunday, then you're probably more likely to see those higher end values of freezing rain totals. Now regarding winds, we're not going to have too much wind during the event. Here we go on Sunday. You can see most of the inland areas probably around 15 miles an hour, maybe a little bit higher at times. All of the stronger winds are basically confined to the coast where you should be above freezing at that point. And then by the time you get to Monday, though, behind this system, winds do switch to out of the northwest, and they do increase to around 25 to 30 mile an hour gusts across much of the area. And gusts are even possible around 30 miles an hour across the eastern shore. And with these winds behind all of the ice and snow, this could cause additional power outages and just prolong the impacts of this winter storm. Regarding the expected onset time, it's still pretty much the same as what it was yesterday, maybe a touch later. So we're thinking somewhere in the evening, west of 95, and then east of 95, maybe a little bit later, close to that 9 p.m. to midnight time frame. And as far as when everything's going to come to an end, it looks like sometime late Sunday night into Monday morning. We have 3 to 6 a.m. right now, west of 95, and 7 to 10 a.m. east of 95. But I will note that some of the model guidance has been a little bit faster with the ending of all of this snow and ice. And here's a quick look of your regional view of the precipitation types and the temperatures. I won't focus on this too much, but the general idea remains the same, that you start off with snow, transition to a wintry mix overnight for most areas, and then by the morning on Sunday for areas further north. And then eventually along the coast, you will switch over to rain. Further inland, freezing rain. We'll see exactly how that plays out. Right now, your temperatures are looking like they're going to be below freezing throughout all of the event inland, and again, a little bit warmer along the coast. Here you can see Kerala, we do have temperatures almost near 50 degrees now on Sunday afternoon. And then looking at the wind chills for the future, right now, ironically, your warmest, so to speak, wind chills are going to be during the event on Sunday. But as soon as the event ends, it's going to be very cold with wind chills dropping down to potentially -5 or even colder on Monday night. So that's dangerously cold wind chills that are expected Monday night. And then it stays very cold through the week. That part of the forecast remains the same. And then your minimum temperatures, again, it's going to be very cold for the rest of the week with your maximum temperatures on the left. And once again, this cold weather is here to stick around for a while. We are still expecting the cold weather and below normal temperatures to persist into the early days of February at least. And I'll end on this, the freezing rain impacts. Again, once you get towards 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain, you start to get a lot more impacts. And then if you get to 1/2 an inch or more, that's when you're starting to talk about very widespread power outages and extensive tree damage. But I am here to answer any questions if you have them.